Hi, everybody. It's Jeff Webb, director of the Johnstown Symphony Chorus. Welcome back to this web series that we are doing to allow you to get to know some of the members of the Johnstown Symphony Chorus. Today, we are talking with the president of the chorus, Howard Bennett. Howard, how are you?
Holding in there, having fun, getting stuff done at home.
I imagine, everybody's stuck inside. Today, on the day we're actually recording this, is actually snowing outside. So crazy, crazy weather here in Johnstown. Howard, why don't you, let's start with, first of all, how are you? How are things going with you?
I have my ups and downs just like everyone else does. It's been going one day at a time with what's been happening in our wacky world. Just making the best of a situation no one was quite expecting.
Yeah, it's just, certainly, certainly. Everybody is, as you say, everybody's trying to adjust to what's happening now in the world. It's been difficult. Howard, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you are doing, what your occupation is, and then also tell us a little bit, how did you get involved in music in general?
Well, my current occupation, most of my life has been some type of food and beverage. However, over the last 5 years, a drastic change took place, and I ended up working with children with disabilities. Something I never would have expected, but it seemed interesting at the time, so I went for it. But I am looking towards a possible early retirement as well. After so many years of work doing so many things, it is sounding better and better.
Retirement is good.
As far as, what was your other question? I'm sorry.
How long have you been involved in music? Like, when did you first get involved in music? Did you sing as a kid? Did you sing in choirs as a kid?
Okay. I did. The earliest I can remember was third grade in my church. And from grade school up to senior high school, I did, like many kids, I started to play the piano, took lessons, went on to there learning the violin and viola. My marching band in high school did sousaphone. What a wide variety, huh? And I sang in church and school choirs. When I was in 11th grade, in our mixed chorus, Carl Miller, who was the conductor at that time, was also the conductor for the symphony chorus. And the chorus at that time was going to perform the book Handel's Messiah. And he offered to us to join them so they had more voices. So I did. And I was very welcomed by many of them. And several of the ladies and men had invited me to join them, and I did. That was back in 1975.
Wow. So
and here it is 45 years later.
Wow. So you've been a part of the group nonstop now for 45 years. My goodness. You're the...
And singing Messiah.
Every other year since then.
Yeah, I've got half of that book memorized. It all depends on how the conductor wants that to go.
A couple of you have mentioned Carl Miller. Can you just talk about Carl for just a brief moment? Carl's somebody who I knew when I first got to Johnstown in 2001. I had met him and talked to him briefly. But I know that he obviously was influential on you and influential on a couple other people who have been a part of the symphony chorus. So can you just briefly talk about Carl?
I'm afraid after all these years, I may not be able to offer much. He was very how do I want to say this? He always had time for the chorus guys and girls, whoever he was teaching at the time. He went with the marching band to different trips and would help us learning our halftime thing. He seemed to be a person that cared a lot about what he did, and what he did was always musical of some sort. That's what I remember most about him, whether it was musicals, the band, the chorus. If we had issues with music, we knew we could go to him, and he would do his best to resolve them for us and answer our questions.
Yeah, he was when I met him, he had already retired from being a teacher, and he was still the choir director he was still doing church choirs, so he was still doing that. But a very nice man, very easygoing, and I know that
Oh, yeah.
at UPJ, he was involved in doing a couple musical directing for a couple of the shows up there. And he was the interim choir director. He was actually the choir director in between Tom Furlong and myself at UPJ. So when Tom Furlong retired, Carl was the interim guy while they were doing the search, and that eventually led to me being hired at UPJ. So that's when I met him initially. When I came to do my interview for UPJ, I met Carl that particular day. A nice man.
Okay. Yeah, he was involved. He did, I forget, little groups along the way as well. And it seems like all the music teachers did at one point, though.
Right. One of the things, Howard, that I think is important to mention is I already said in passing that you were the president of the chorus. But one of the things that you have done over the last several years in that role, being the president of the chorus, is spearhead some of our community outreach elements. And one of the things that we have found to be very, very well done and very, very necessary is the Thanksgiving food drive, the turkey drive you usually do at Thanksgiving. Can you explain to people why that came about and how that came about, and explain exactly how it's been received?
Let's see, starting back in the beginning and trying to keep it short. When the officers retired that we had in the year 2000, it was suggested that I run. So I did, and they elected me in as their president. And part of what I thought our chorus could do would be become a little bit more active with each other and visible in the community. The previous officers said they didn't have much luck in doing that and wished me well. So one night I explained to the chorus part of what I was doing was I would search and find out of a family that had children and was maybe a little up on hard times. And so many holidays, so many people can get help at different places, but the one that seemed the easiest to get involved and help with was for Thanksgiving. It's food. Everyone eats, everyone contributes to a meal, and there's so much that you can do to help out a person, not only for just one dinner, but if you gather enough, you can feed them for a while. So I asked the chorus if they would be interested in joining with me and helping to do something like this, reaching out to families in our community. Surely somebody would know somebody that we could start with, and they did. A lot of our chorus members sing in their church choirs and go to church, and they just thought it was a wonderful outreach to help those in need. And so it began. And I told them to bring in non-perishable items for about 4 weeks prior to Thanksgiving. And I stored them in my garage. I knew it was cold, and it was a place where it was safe and no one would touch it. And then I passed a bag and said if they didn't feel comfortable bringing food, since it was heavy at times to carry and the weather may not have been that cooperative, we passed a bag, and then I would take my mother and we would go shopping to all the stores and their sales and supplement and divide so that we had a little bit of everything to make meals, from the produce to the meats to the starches to the vegetables. And so it began, and each year we were able to do a minimum of 3 different families. Over the years, sometimes we had extra. It added up, and we've already been able to reach out to folks in our community of a little more than 75 families now in the past 20 years. And when I take or have delivery drivers take the food to the people, first we ask their permission and see if there's any allergies. Some people have said thank you, but there's someone else out there more deserving than me. That was real touching at times. Once the family has given permission, then it begins with gathering, and our driver connects their volunteer drivers to deliver the food. They contact the family, and it's kept totally anonymous. Nobody knows who the family is and where it's going to, other than me and the drivers. And we've never said anything. And we tell the family, I do personally on the phone, no strings attached. This is just our way of the symphony chorus giving back to our community for their coming when they get the chance to see us and supporting us. They were very grateful over the years. We've had some cards. It was nice.
Yeah, that has been something that really has been important. Again, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring that up is because you should be commended for spearheading that. I've been with the organization now for 2 years, and to see that go on has been very, very important and very, very touching for me personally. And so this is something that Howard spearheaded. The rest of the organization has jumped on board, and it's been a great thing to have at the holiday time. So Howard, now you've been with the group now 45 years. So I'm gonna put you on the spot here and ask you to harken back 45 years. Can you give me maybe your top 3 best moments being a part of the symphony chorus, like your best concert moments? The deep sigh.
Well, I've seen my share of chorus conductors, and needless to say, the choices of music has been probably the hugest variety that I ever thought I'd get into singing. I very much liked the time we did the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and it was 8-part men. That was one of my most favorite, and needless to say, whenever it's an all-men thing going, there are a lot of people that sit and really enjoy it as well. Another time was doing all of with the orchestra, Handel's Messiah. It's a big book. It's a lot of different numbers. It can be exhausting, but it's really beautiful, I think. Sometimes I think, oh no, not again. But I do like listening when other groups do it as well. And I guess another time that I think I've enjoyed a lot is in the springtime, when most everything is finished and we go up to Grandview, the cemetery, and we meet early in the morning and we sing a few songs for memory of our veterans. And the people that come and that are there in their uniforms and out, and hearing the stories of some of them, I just think is such a touching, heartfelt moment. I really, really enjoyed doing that.
That's great. That's great. We're disappointed that we won't be able to do that this year. But as I've said many times in these little webisodes, if you will, we're very much looking forward to the day in which we can come back together as a group to sing. We're missing the camaraderie of doing that and sharing the gifts we've been blessed with. Howard, are you listening to music? Not necessarily right now while we're on the phone, but in general, are you listening to music right now? And if so, what are you listening to? And do you find it to be healing in some ways in this sort of time of uncertainty?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I believe music has always had an important part in our lives. And some people may not realize it, but when it comes down to it, it can make you laugh. It can make you cry. You can have such great happy feelings of another time and place. And it can comfort you, like, with the funerals and passing of others, or those that are just moving and you won't see for a while as often. With the many different types, for me, it's hard to like just one. I very much enjoy it in the worship service, so the different religious songs as well. But I do like to look back over the years at some of what I've heard and some of what I've sung, and sometimes I started out not liking the piece, but when it was finished, I'm glad I did. And the memories, talk about going down memory lane. So yeah, I put on whatever grabs me from day to day, and I never know where it's going to lead me. In one course of a day, I could start out with some hillbilly country western stuff, go into some old rock and roll, and end up with a little bit of opera.
Yeah, see, that to me really is the beauty of it all, because I've known people who only listen to one type of music, and I never subscribe to that. People will ask me, well, what do you like to listen to? And I will say, I listen to practically everything. I listen to classical. If you want me to listen to Mozart or Beethoven or Brahms, I can do that. I enjoy doing that. I enjoy listening to John Coltrane and Miles Davis and Count Basie. I enjoy listening to the Beatles and Ava Cassidy, and people from all sorts of different genres and walks of life. To me, doing that, you get a sense of other people's sort of walk in life, what other people are going through, what other people are dealing with. And I mean, for me also, who wants to listen to the same thing every day, all day? I need some.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
And some of the music, like you said, after you listen to it and you find, you learn a lot about that person or that group, right, and how that came to be.
Right.
And it just shows that people so different with so many different types of music, how they can bring so many people together just through music.
Right, right. It's an important element not to forget, during these particular times. It's very pertinent during these times. Howard, thanks for jumping on the call here. I appreciate it. Good to hear you. Glad to hear that you're doing well. And hopefully I will see you soon.
Yes, hopefully they'll allow us to get back out and we can all meet over dinner.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Are you cooking?
Or maybe I'll just set something up.
You'll just order it up. All right, Howard, thanks. Take care. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. Stay safe out there.
All right, you too. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.